We all know the story of the perfect soldier, the leader with the tactical mind, the geometry of war, and the laser focus. But what happens when you're the other guy? What happens when you're the backup battery, the spare air, the guy who survived the burning plane crash but never really learned how to land? Today we're talking about the icon. We're talking about the interference. We're talking about a man who absorbs the ambient pressure of the universe and releases it as pure, uncontrollable chaos. He is the brother who remembers too much and feels too deeply. Today, we enter the orbit of Alexander Summers, better known as Havok. Welcome back to Marvel Echoes Resonance. I'm your host, Will, and I'm thrilled you're here today with me because we're going to tackle a character who is near and dear to my heart and a few of you from the comments. If you caught the last episode, we broke down the tactical rigidity of Scott Summers, aka Cyclops. We talked about how Scott is all about control. He's the Leonardo of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? He's the guy who follows the plan. But today, we're talking about the Raphael. We're talking about Alex. To understand Havok, you have to go back to the moment the silence broke. We're talking about the foundational trauma of the Summers family, the plane crash. So we talked about it before. Picture it, a vintage plane flying over Alaska, a burning engine and a parachute. Just one. Their mother, Catherine, has to make a choice that no parent, and as a dad myself, no one ever should have to think about and should never have to make. She pushes her sons out. Now, here's the ripple we need to track. And it's distinct from Scott's. Scott hits the ground and goes into a coma, eventually waking up in the Sinister's orphanage. But Alex lands and is adopted. On paper, Alex wins the lottery. He gets the white picket fence in Omaha, Nebraska with the Blanding family. But, and there's always a but with comics in the Summers clan, this wasn't a rescue. It was a replacement. The Blandings had lost their own son, Todd, in a car accident. They didn't adopt Alex to love Alex. They adopted him to play the role of a ghost. Imagine growing up knowing that every time your parents look at you, they're wishing you were someone else. That is the origin spark of Havok. He has been grappling with imposter syndrome since he was a toddler. So while Scott was being hardened into a diamond by Sinister, Alex was being hollowed out by the grief that wasn't even his. When his powers finally kick in during the Silver Age, specifically in X-Men number 57 in 1969, it wasn't a gift. It was a terrifying biological reaction. Alec absorbs ambient cosmic energy, the background radiation of the stars, and discharges it as a superheated plasma. He is a living reactor, and his first villain, the living Pharaoh, didn't want to fight him. He literally locked Alex in a sarcophagus to use him as a living battery. I want you to sit with that image for a second. His introduction to the superhero life wasn't saving somebody from an accident. It was being used as basically a Duracell battery for someone else's ego. This sets the stage for his entire life. He doesn't want the costume. He wants to be a geophysics major. He wants to eat pizza and date Lorna Dane. But the universe keeps dragging him back. Now we have to talk about Inferno. If you want to understand the difference between Scott and Alex, you have to look at the late 80s in the Australian outback. Scott Summers abandons his wife, Madeline Pryor, to go back to his high school sweetheart, Jean Grey. It's Scott not at his finest hour. But Alex stays. He steps up to the void Scott left behind. He comforts Madeline, and when Madeline breaks, when she becomes the Goblin Queen, Alex doesn't fight her. He falls with her. He becomes the Goblin Prince. It's the leather-clad demonic persona that screams out to all the resentment he'd been bottling up for years. He's tired of being the good brother. He's tired of Scott being the perfect leader. There's a moment in Uncanny X-Men number 242 that's just cinema. Brother versus brother in a demon-infested Manhattan. They unleash everything. Optical blast versus plasma discharge, and nothing happens. This is when it's revealed that they are immune to each other because biologically, Summer brothers can't hurt each other with their weapons, similar to most other mutants. They can destroy mountains, they can crack planets, but they cannot scratch each other. So what do? They have to punch it out. They have to get messy and human. It is the ultimate metaphor for the relationship. They are forever locked in a conflict that power cannot solve. Later in the 90s, writer Peter David does the brilliant thing in X Factor 87, one of the best single issues of all time. He puts Alex in therapy with Doc Samson. Alex admits, "I don't want to lead. I just lead because I'm terrified that if I don't, I'll never measure up to Scott." That vulnerability, that is why we love him. He's the reluctant king, leading government teams and space pirates, not because he craves the throne, but because no one else can sit in the chair without breaking. So let's fast forward as we always do to catch you up on the chaotic roller coaster of Alex's life over the last decade or so. If you stepped away from the comics in the 90s, you might be wondering how the geophysics major ended up where he is today. The modern era of Havok really kicks off with a massive identity crisis during the Uncanny Avengers run. Captain America handpicked Alex to lead the new Unity Squad, which we've talked about previously, which is a mix of the Avengers and the X-Men. This was supposed to be his big break, his moment to step out of the X-Men's shadow and into the Avengers spotlight. But it backfired spectacularly. Alex gave a press conference speech that became infamous. He rejected the word mutant. He basically said, "Don't call me the M-word, just call me Alex." He wanted unity, but the mutant community and a lot of readers, it sounded like he was ashamed of his heritage. It isolated him, leaving him feeling more alone than ever, just as the mutant race was facing extinction again. That isolation broke something in him. By the time we get to the Krakoan era, which is the recent period where all mutants were living on an island nation, Alex wasn't on the ruling council like his brother. He wasn't a captain of industry. He was a mess. He was placed on a team called the Hellions. Think of it like the Suicide Squad. It was a team for the broken toys, the mutants who couldn't play nice with others. And this is where the tragedy circles back in a way that just breaks your heart. On that team, he was reunited with Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen, who had been resurrected. While everyone else saw her as a monster, Alex saw the woman he fell for years ago. He became her anchor. He was the only one defending her humanity while the rest of the world wanted to put her down. It showed Alex's true character. He isn't the guy who follows the rules. He is the guardian of the broken things. When the fall of X happened recently, when the mutant nation of Krakoa collapsed, Alex didn't run. He stood by Madeline's side as she led the team of dark X-Men out of a demonic embassy in New York. It was a dark, gritty period where Alex was practically feral, fighting with a desperation he hadn't seen since the Outback era. But as we look at the landscape of 2025 and the new From the Ashes era, the wheel has turned again. With Krakoa gone and the mutants scattered, Alex has had to clean himself up. He's actually stepped back into the role of the Echoes that 90s glory days. He's joined a brand new government-sanctioned X Factor team. It feels like a full circle moment, doesn't it? He's back in the public eye, dealing with the media, wearing a sleek costume, and trying to be the face of a safe mutant heroism. But this time, he's older. He's got the scars of the Goblin Prince, the trauma of the Hellions, and the weight of the fall of X behind him now. He's playing the part of a polished hero, but we know, and he knows, that the chaos is still humming just beneath the skin. So, I'll leave you with this question to chew on for today. We often judge heroes by their stability. We want them to be rocks. We want them to be Captain America. But is Havok actually the more honest hero because he isn't stable? Scott Summers builds walls to keep the world out. Alex Summers lets the world in, absorbs its energy, and tries to survive the reaction. Does that make him a ticking time bomb, or does that make him the only Summers brother who is actually living in the real world? I really want to hear your thoughts on this one. Is Havok a tragic figure, or just messy? And let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for listening to this episode of Marvel Echoes. I hope you enjoyed this trip into plasma-soaked history of the Summers family. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure you subscribe and follow so you don't miss any future episodes. Leaving a like and a 5-star review really help the podcast grow and help other fans find these stories. Also, drop a comment on who you want to see next. We love taking listener requests. And for more content, including full articles, reading guides, and those awesome infographics on everything we discussed today, be sure to visit the website in the links below. Until next time, true believers, make mine Marvel.